Okay, hello everybody. I'm Brian, and this is AAMI News and Conversation. I'm here today with Nicole Mclees, the Director of Sterility Assurance at Olympus. And Nicole is the co-chair of our ethylene oxide working group. You're here this week for Sterilization Standards Weeks, or one of our Sterilization Standards Weeks. So we're talking a lot about standards development, and in particular for you, it sounds like ethylene oxide. Um, so Nicole, before we dive into the subject of today, ethylene oxide itself, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are already familiar with both the FDA and the EPA talking quite a lot about it, about how we need to optimize the use of this sterilization modality. Since it's so broadly used already, it begs the question for me, why? Why does everybody want to use this modality in the first place?
Yeah, there are a lot of materials that are compatible with EO sterilization. So I think that's kind of the primary reason why it's used so much.
So, in other words, if I need to sterilize my device, it's more likely that the materials that use to make that device are compatible and won't be destroyed or disrupted in any way by using this modality on it to clean it on a regular basis. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, and yet we want to really optimize the use of it. We've seen people. What are some of the causes of that? Is that because of supply chain issues or environmental concerns? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. There are a lot of capacity constraints right now, and then also the environmental issues.
Gotcha. Okay. So how do I optimize my use of ethylene oxide?
Yeah, great question. Actually, AAMI TIR 16 was recently revised just for that reason. We wanted to provide more guidance on other methods other than the half cycle overkill method.
Okay, so that's the standard, the industry standard that most people tend to use. But you said there are new methods. Why don't you tell me about those? What's going on there?
Yeah, so there's also the BI bioburden approach and the absolute bioburden approach, and cycle calculation as well, right? But those methods have not been there's not much guidance out there on those
Hmm.
methods.
They're relatively new.
I mean they've been around. It's just not they're not commonly used. So you don't I think because they're not commonly used, there isn't as much guidance on it. But there are a lot of benefits to those methods, like shorter cycle times, reduced EO residual levels. So I think, when optimizing your cycle, it's important to consider using those methods.
I see. And so obviously, what are some of the reasons that people might want to be adopting new methods is again to optimize their use of EO more efficiently to I'm sure it will be more in line with making the EPA and the FDA happy. But are there any benefits on the manufacturer side for using these new methods? Is it a money saver? Is it a time saver? Anything like that?
I mean, I think it's probably more from the time perspective, right? And I think having, using the half cycle overkill method has caused, I think, some constraints in industry just because people have developed these massive over challenges of their cycle and they become very long over time. So now optimizing your cycle, making them shorter, we have quicker turnaround time, and and it's going to help overall with capacity by doing that.
Mhm. Okay, that's important. Overcoming capacity
Mhm.
constraints. Excellent. So this new TIR is it did come out. It came out in 2023, correct?
Yep.
Right. So it's already available. People should absolutely check it out if you can. But on top of that, though, I'd still be wondering, okay, so how do I best interpret this TIR? How do I use it to the best of my ability? And that's where you come in, because I heard that you are now teaching a course for Amy. The first one will be available on April 30th and the second May 2nd. So, what is the approach of this course that you're teaching? What are you trying to achieve here?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk through the changes to TIR 16. And it was mostly, like I said, to provide more guidance on like the BI bioburden approach or cycle calculation. And so we'll go through those, and we'll also have case studies, I think, to help anybody that wants to use those for validation.
Case studies. Now, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So, I am curious where these case studies came from. How did you source these?
TIR-16 has some really great examples of actually using or doing the calculations for these different methods. So we're going to talk through some of those. I might change them up a bit so they're not exactly the same,
Oh, I
but
see.
that's where they'll be coming from.
Excellent. No, so the intended audience for this course of who should be attending are people who already have the standard, or is it those who are planning to buy the standard? Does it matter?
I
Is it a
don't
mixed
think it
bag? Oh,
matters.
okay. No, that's very good. And obviously, the end game then is what am I going to get when I'm walking out of this course? What should I know
Yeah,
afterwards?
I think you'll have a really good understanding of using methods other than the half cycle overkill method.
Excellent, excellent. Now it feels like we're really dragging the half cycle overkill method through the dirt here, but does that still have a place in the industry as well?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yeah, I don't want to say that nobody should use it ever. It is still a valid method, but I just think, given everything going on in industry right now, it's important to consider some of these other methods.
Right, that flexibility we were talking about before to, as we said, overcome those capacity constraints and optimize the process. So
Yep.
that's really good. So Nicole, before you've mentioned that your work with TIR 16 is kind of a first step towards greater international work that's going on. What is that work?
Yeah, so actually the ethylene oxide standard ISO 11135 is also being updated to include additional guidance on these methods.
Oh, okay. The same methods that are being mentioned in TIR 16.
Yes.
I see. And I should mention for those who don't know, ISO 11135, it's got a very long name. It's sterilization of healthcare products, ethylene oxide, requirements for the development, validation, and routine control of a sterilization process for medical devices. So that is plugging right into those methodologies that you're talking about. Um, and this standard has not been revised for 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah, so it sounds like this is a good time to do it, especially as our scientific understanding has increased. There's these new methods that it sounds like you said these methods have been around a while, but now there's international interest.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Well, Nicole, thank you again for talking me through this today, and I hope you have a great time at Sterilization Standards Week.
Thank you.